cost game is played when companies use a cost plus formula or approach to pricing. Think of industries where the product or the offering is very commoditized. Think of distributors. Think of logistics players. It's also common wherever you have bidding to obtain work. Large construction companies, for example, for government work, they bid and they use a cost plus approach to pricing. Determining cost effectively in the cost game starts with very rigorous cost accounting, typically driven by finance. Now, this includes current costs, but also expected future costs. Companies playing the cost game typically have always-on initiatives to reduce costs, increase operational efficiency, optimize their supply chain. It is very important that they're careful here because they hit a limit and they may run into quality issues if they reduce costs too much, or they may run into resiliency issues. If there's a shock, they may not be prepared to sustain it. In case you have multiple cost drivers that are uncorrelated, you also need multiple pricing bases. Then you need to think about pricing adjusters that will help incentivize customers, help you reduce cost. And then you can pass on some of those cost savings to those customers. For example, volume-based discounts. One of my favorite examples of companies that play the cost game successfully is a food distributor in the US. They work collaboratively with their customers and they're transparent about their cost drivers. They also introduce pricing model levers that incentivize customers to reduce cost, and they pass on some of those cost savings to their customers. So for example, they have delivery frequency fees. If you have less deliveries, you have less costs, and you can pass on some savings to your customers. They also have order size rebates. Through that, they achieved a 30% profit per customer increase while passing on some of those cost savings to their customers. When playing the cost game, we see a very clear challenge, especially in the current environment, with cost volatility. Companies are seeing higher and higher volatility in their input costs, and that impacts the prices that you charge to the customers. And if you're locked into certain rates, it impacts your profits. So it is important, to the extent possible, to index those costs so that you pass on some of the volatility to your end customer. In terms of pricing, though, the challenge I see the most in companies playing the cost game is that they think they have no agency on pricing. However, if you think about all the pricing model decisions that you have to make and how you can incentivize customers to help you reduce costs, there's a lot you can do to price better. There are 4 steps that companies can take to maintain a competitive advantage while playing the cost game. First, they need to understand their cost really well in a very granular level of detail. Second, they need to establish the right pricing basis that aligns with how costs scale. Third, companies need to incentivize customers using pricing levers to help them reduce cost and pass some of those cost savings to their customers. And finally, companies can also de-average the plus side of the equation and apply different markups to different customers. By doing these 4 steps, companies can unlock tremendous value in the cost game and sustain a competitive advantage.